Hello everybody, Kelvin here, and in today's video we're going to take a look at how we can reimage 5500X Series ASA firewalls to FTD, which is a firepower threat defense. In this example I will be using a 5506 to demonstrate how we can do this. Now, just before we jump in, there is a few prerequisites, and I will have these listed on my website, cybercbk.co.uk. Link will be below as well. But we'll just quickly look at these, and we know that we need to be able to have the ability to download the software from Cisco's website, so software.cisco.com. There's three images that you're going to need depending on version of ASA you have. So for the lower end devices, the 5506, the 5508, the 5516, the Rama, the firmware, will also need to be upgraded as well. So we'll need in this particular instance 3 different images. But for the mid-range firewalls, I think I've put it here. So yeah, so for the 5512s, 5515s, etc., we don't need to upgrade the firmware. However, in this example, as I say, I'm using a 5506, so lower end ASA, so we will need to upgrade the firmware as well. We need to make sure that we've got console access and also the ability to send our images to the devices, so I'll be using TFTP to do that. It is recommended that you make a backup of your configuration, because once you reimage your firewall, this is going to wipe all the configurations. You also need to ensure that your device has a SSD installed, and I've put the command on the website here, but we'll run through that in the demonstration. And with that in mind, we also need to make sure we've got 3 gig or more space so that we can put these images onto the device for a successful reimage. I've put here in my article the images, the versions that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be using in this demonstration firmware version 1.1.14 and boot image 9.9.2.0, and Ftd Software I'm going to be using 6.2.3. So I've got these images already stored locally on my device, and I'm going to connect to my lab where the 5506 is, so I can send these images to the device using a TFTP server, which I've got here. So we'll get started, and what we need to do is we need to upgrade the firmware first, and then we'll then do the boot image, and then we'll move on to the Ftd software. So just before we start, we need to verify a few things. So if we use the show module command, we can see the current firmware version is 1.1.8. So I'm going to upgrade that today. And then if we do show inventory, we can see that we have the ASA and SSD on this ASA as well, so we're good there. And as I mentioned, we also need to make sure that we have enough memory so that we can put these images on the device. So to do that, we'll just issue dir command, so dir for directory, and we can see on this particular device I have 53% free, so I've got over 3 gig, which I'm cool with, so we're pretty much ready to upgrade there. So I've pointed my folder on my TFTP server to the one where the images are. So I'm just going to do a copy TFTP and the server IP address, then along with the image name as it is. So the firmware, I'll just copy this to make it easier. So you just copy that image name, then space, we're going to copy it to disk 0, and we'll see if that works. Now this probably isn't going to work because I've got the firewall turned on, the host firewall on my device, so we'll just wait for that to time out and then I'll just turn that off and it should work. So there we go, it's not worked there. So let's just turn these off real quick. So this is something else to bear in mind. I'll just turn both off to make it easier. Now if we just do it again, destination file name is going to stay the same, and we can see there now we're getting the exclamation marks, so that means that the image is transferring across, which is good. And we can see there we've got the get requests on the TFTP server. So once the firmware image has successfully transferred, you'll get the hash, so you can verify that to make sure that it's not being modified in translation. In our case we are all good. So if I just do a dir again, we should be able to now see our firmware here. So we're going to go ahead now and we're going to upgrade that. So to upgrade that, all we need to do is we need to type upgrade Rama, and it's in disk 0, which we saved it to, and again the actual name of the image. So we'll just copy that and then we'll press enter. So now it's going to reload, and during the upgrade process it's going to reload a few times. So I'll just hold the video until the upgrade process is complete, then we can do some verification checks. So I'll just confirm and reload that now, and we'll resume shortly. So once the ASA has completed its steps for the firmware upgrade, we should be able to verify the version now. Just log in and I'll just do show module. We can see now that the new firmware version has been successful, and it's 1.1.14. There's a few outputs above that will also tell you when the installation is successful as well. So that's the firmware upgrade done. We'll now move on to the next software upgrade, which will be the boot image. So to do this, what we need to do is we need to reboot the device, and providing that you also have the boot image ready for the next step. So we'll just reload this device now. So once we interrupted the boot sequence by pressing escape when the reboot took place, we have now managed to get ourselves into Rama mode. So if we press type in help, we have a few commands here that we can use. Now what we need to do is we need to set the network settings in Rama mode. So we'll do this now, bearing in mind that these settings are need to be configured based on your environment. So I'm going to configure address of 10.0.0, let's just say 241. Oops. Invalid command. Yep, so that should let me do the address. There we go, that's worked. Net mask, in my case, will be a /24. The gateway will be 10.0.0.2, I believe, and the server which is my device that I am currently on, will be 10.0.0.3. And there we go. So that should be enough settings for what we need to continue. So what we could do is we can ping our server, and we can see that that works. So that's successful, which is good. So now we know we've got IP connectivity between our Rama mode and our server, which is where the images are stored. So what we'll do now is we will move on to the next steps. So we're going to go on and we're going to get the boot image. So I'm just going to copy the boot image name because we're going to need to input that in a minute. So if I just do file and I paste that, and then I'm going to type sync, and then it's going to be TFTP DNLD auto detect. So we'll see now, detected unsupported IP packet fragmentation. It's receiving the boot image from our server, which is good. So if we go back to our TFTP server as well, you can see that we've got some more GET requests here, which is good. In fact, that was, if we just go back to that, it'd be the top one from 241. So we'll just wait until that image is copied to the device. So once that is done, we can see now that we're now into the Ftd boot menu, as it says here, Cisco Ftd boot, and it's booted up successfully. We could do a question mark to see what commands are available. And now what we're going to do is we're going to finish off by installing the Ftd software to actually transition this device to an Ftd device. So to do that, we need to do similar steps that we did last time. So we'll start by typing setup, and our host name can stay the same. So we just press enter, and we are asked if we want to configure IPv4 address on the management interface, and we'll just do yes. And we could press yes for DHCP if you've got DHCP enabled within your environment. So I'm just going to do yes for now because I believe I've got DHCP on in the environment. And we don't want IPv6. We'll enable NTP. We'll just do 10.0.0.2. And let's apply these settings and see what we get. And we'll try again, similar to what we did last time, which is ping my machine, which is running the TFTP server. So let's do ping 003. There we go. So we can see that the pings are successful, which is good. We've got if I just do show I just want to confirm the IP address. Okay, so 10.0.0.146. Okay, cool. So pretty straightforward. Now we shall move on to actually installing the image. So we'll do system install, and we'll do, and with this install, what we're going to do is we need to do it via port 80, so HTTP. So you need to make sure that you have a HTTP server running. I do on the machine that I'm using. We can actually test that by going to the URL of our IP address and the image. So if I just reload that there and I do HTTP 10.0.0.3/ and then the image name for the FTD image, you can see here it starts to download, so that means I can access that, which is good. So we should be able to run that now on this machine, on the ASA 10.0.0.3 and then the package name. Okay, so now we are presented with a warning saying that disk 0 will be erased during the installation. That is fine because we are installing FTD, so we need to type yes or Y. And as you can see now, it's going to start erasing disk 0 and start to download that image file. So once the image as extracted, you will be prompted on the screen with a question asking if you want to continue with the upgrade. So you can see here that we have the ASA FTD 6.2.3 and it'll require a reboot. So I'm just going to press Y for yes, and it just says now not to interrupt the process. So we'll resume again after this as complete. Once the new system image has been populated, you will be prompted to reboot. So now we're going to press enter and reboot. We'll return when this process has finished. So once the image is finished installing, you will be put back to this page here with a firepower login prompt. And as we can see, the ASA 5506X is now using threat defense version 6.2.3 build 83. So we go ahead and log in with the default credentials that are given with FTD, and we'll just let that finish. There we go, it's finally finished. So it's admin, then admin123 with the capital A, and then we should be able to log in. There we go. I'll just give it a second. Yeah, so that's the ELA there. So you just gotta accept the ELA. So you just go right to the end of this. As I said at the start, because obviously we're now using FTD and not the old original ASA code, all the configurations have been wiped. Let me type yes to agree to that. And a new password. And as you can see here now, it's going to run through the initial setup of the device now that the installation is finished. So I'm not going to continue with that at the moment. I'll do that offline, but I just wanted to capture this process of upgrading or re-imaging 5506 or 5500X Series ASA to FTD, and that's the process that we've just been through. So the information for the prerequisites will be on my website, cybercbk.co.uk, as mentioned previously. The link is also in the the description below. If you've got any questions, then please feel free to comment on this video or reach out to me on my website or Twitter. All the links are below. But yeah, I hope you found that video useful, and I hope it helps you in the process of upgrading your 5500 X series devices. Thank you.